Well, this is just a test trial. I don't know if this is something I'm going to do. I'm just going to sit here to see if anybody joins, and we're going to be doing a working session of FreeCAD. So this is just a trial, just to see if I like working with this or not, if it seems like anybody wants to or cares or anything. So I'll leave that streaming trial up if it's not in the way. And let's get started. So what I have here is a piston. I seem like I'm obsessed with pistons as of late. This particular one is done entirely in the part design workbench. As you can see, I'm in the part design workbench here currently. And I have this running, but does it seem to be working? Yeah, it does. Okay. But so you can see it's all done with primitives and various Boolean operations, and the cutout operation. I don't know if this is considered a Boolean. I don't think it is. But the majority of them are in fact Booleans. Let's just apologize again. I am new to this, so I don't even know if there's anybody watching. No, I can see that people are actually watching. And so what I'm going to do is start a new document, and we'll start out with so there is a new tool for FreeCAD. It's the create a tube. But that's a tube, and what I want is I want a cylinder with with the middle removed and not a tube. So we're going to start out by making this. It's going to be 50 millimeter radius, and it's going to be 100 millimeter height. So this is just sort of my stand-in piston. It's probably not an engineering reality, and we'll just make it. So we're going to make the cut. We're going to make that 40 millimeters, and we'll make that, radius of 48 millimeters. And actually, let's do that 46. So I'm just doing this by what looks right. So, and then the last thing we'll do is, so it has the same wall at the bottom. We'll make it 96, and then let's transform this up. So we have that. I do have, I think I have chat going. So, if you do want to say something, just to tell me that it's working. It is in slow mode, which I guess means that you can only type once every 60 seconds, because I don't think I'm smart enough or fast enough to do more than that. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to do a cutout. That's right here. So this is going to cut out the inside shape from the outer cylinder. So there are other ways to do that. Part design workbench has the skin command, which lets you do it with one cylinder. Not skin, make a thick solid, I think. And I think and this does the same thing sort of, but I've found it to be very fiddly. So okay, so that's our basics. That's our basic cylinder. So now I want to cut out a shape for the wrist pin, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another cylinder, and we'll make that cylinder. We're going to make it, I think, radius. It's fairly large because the wrist pin would have to be large, so we'll do 10. So what we're doing right now is this piece right here. That's the wrist pin. So let's go back to the cylinder, and it's going to be 100. Yay, thank you, Mika, sorry. I looked too quick. And please forgive me, I'm quite nervous about this. This is not something that's in my blood. So for stuff like this, that's everything is 1 millimeter, you can use the translate tool pretty readily, and get good results. With stuff that's not a specific measurement, it's hard to land it in the right spot. So let me transform that up. So I'm putting this So we're going to do the same. I'm putting the wrist pin in, you know, a proxy for the wrist pin. Again, that's this guy right here. Thank you, Goku Tor. I'm sorry, I won't be able to say that. So to do the wrist pin, I'm going to do the same operation. I'm going to do a cutout, and that's the same as some of the, you know, the same, the equivalent Boolean operation. Sorry, I wasn't thinking of the right thing. So now that I have this cylinder wall, which probably is way too thin for an actual cylinder, probably blow right out. Maybe not. I don't know. So the next thing is let's get ready to. I'm going to add cutouts for the rings. So and that's going to be these parts down here. So what we'll do is, so let me just say, while I have a couple of people here, what I'm going to try to do is, this is a test for the streaming part. What I'm probably going to do is do like a 15-minute stream, and then try to bring on Zoom so people can actually ask questions and show their problems, and we'll try to work them out together. There's probably some people that will join that know more than I do, and maybe they can help as well. So let's get on with this, and we'll do we'll do another cylinder the same way, but in this case it's going to be 50 millimeters, and let's just make it 4. So we're going to use this to cut out the rings, and then, but what we need to do is we need to make it a ring, and then we'll cut with it. So I'm adding a second cylinder that will remove the inner portion. So let's just make that, oops, that's height. I want radius, so it's 48. And let's change the height to also to 4. Now, unlike some CAD systems like OpenSCAD, the planes can be concurrent with each other, and it's not a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outer cylinder and subtract the inner cylinder, and we'll just do that with, I should be able to do that with cut. So you'll see cut does very similar to cut out. Couldn't really tell you the exact reason there's 2 of them. Actually, I want to make this a little smaller. That feels wrong to me. So now I'm going to make, now I want to stay in the part design workbench for this sort of walkthrough. So I'm not going to use, I could use clone from draft, but I'm not going to do that because I want to stay in this. I want to stay in part workbench. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make create a simple copy, and we're going to do that twice because I want to have 3 rings. And so now what we'll do is we'll translate those up to just an approximate place, or transform, sorry, to about a approximate place where they would be on a piston. And again, this piston probably would never run. So let's try going up there and transform up here too. Now, in this particular live stream, I'm going to ask that you don't ask me questions because it'll probably blow my mind. But later on, you know, we'll do it so you can, you know, I'll take questions on the chat, and I'll try to answer them. But right now, my brain is probably full. So to cut all of these out, what we'll need to do is, and I'm realizing right now that they're not spaced the way I want, but I kind of want to show how that they'll adjust. We can move them later, even though we've already created the various structures. So we're gonna use the cut tool for that, and then we'll take the cut. I'm going to take this cut, and wait, which one did I use? Okay, so I'll use this and this. So basically, we're going to be stacking all the cuts, and this one and this one. So we end up with the rings that we need. So now I was mentioning that we'll be able to, this everything being a cut is starting to confuse me. So now I can transform something, and you'll see that it moves in the final cut, in this final cut. So let's try it again. This is a little messy here, sorry. Now in the past, I've gone through and I've renamed things as I'm going. but boy, that just there's a lot of renaming, and then you have to kind of come up with a sort of a standard for yourself for doing the renaming, and that can get quite confusing as well. So anyway, let's just leave those. This is what I was going for, but we didn't make it, so that's okay. We'll just leave them for now. You get the point. So it's just a lot of nested pieces. So that's the piston part. Let's throw our wrist pin in, and so I'm going to transform this so it's the right direction. So grabbing the red ball will rotate you around the red axis, and let's hide this guy for a second, and let's make his radius to match that other one. I think it was, yep, and then the height is going to be 100. And I'm just going to transform this into place too. Use the transform tool. And I got the, I definitely got the radius completely wrong. So like I said, when you're working in standard increment, it's easy to just use the transform tool to position things in place. Now this methodology that I'm doing here, this sort of build in place, is, from what I understand, something the developers, like I think the developers would cringe at. What they want is a part by part methodology, and I agree with them. I think that, and then you move it into place in an assembly. We're going to leave that as 10 millimeters. I guess that'd be okay. So the one thing I want to do next is I want to trim off the corner of this, and I think I can just use the base cylinder. So let me go in and find that. So let's hide this, and I want not that. So what I'm looking for is my outer cylinder for the outer cylinder for here, and I'm going to use that to trim the wrist pin. And this is one of the reasons why people probably don't love the part workbench, because it gets deep really quickly. So I'm going to trim this wrist pin, and I'm going to cut it with this cylinder, so I don't have to create another one. And I think I can use that cut. Nope, I did that backwards. I'm going to use this one. Nope. Let's see, what did I... Oh yeah, so it's a Boolean, and it's... Is it... did I do union? I have to check. I don't remember. So if it's this wrist pin, common, that's it. So yeah, union and common. So we'll do that. And so we'll just do a run a Boolean operation. And oh, okay. So this is a little problem I have with FreeCAD. You'll see that union is used here, but watch. When I actually do this, and close it, you'll see, it's fusion or common. Cool, not many people. Yeah, no, it's, hi Tyler. It's this is the first time I've done this, and again, this is just a test. So I just want to kind of see if I can do the streaming, and if anybody joins. So people are joining, so that's good. So what I was going for here is the common. I'm not going to torture you with like trying to find it while I was streaming. Oh, so no, I will torture you because it's right there. Let's try it one more time. So let me get rid of the fusion, and you should be able, I hope to show the wedge when I do the piston rod, and that wedge is like, it hurts my brain. So I didn't want to do that. I want to delete this, but it's supposed to ask me if I want to delete what's underneath it. Oh, it just left it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to cut, we're going to do common, and it should leave just the wrist pin. Yeah, so it's the wrist pin with the edges rounded. I don't know if they build it that way, but that's the way I'm going to do it. All right, so now I have my wrist pin, my piston with its uneven rings, and now let's start working on what I'd consider the hard part, and that's the rod and this cam clamp here. Don't know if that's its official name, but this could take a while, so I don't know if we'll finish this in this stream. If people keep joining, maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I was really only planning on doing this for about 10 minutes, and Yes, we are already well past that. So if people get bored and leave, then I'll end it. But if people want to stay, then we'll just keep going. Okay, so for the connecting rod, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a for this one I'm going to use the pipe. So we'll create a pipe or tube, they call it, I guess, and I'm going to transform it into place. And while I'm doing the connecting rod, you'll see why moving this stuff starts to become a problem. And so let's get this from the front here, and let's resize this tube. So that tube is a newer tool in FreeCAD. It came sometime after 19 was released. If I just didn't notice it, it's a chance I just didn't notice it. So let's make the tube bigger, and it's going to be smaller than that though. Let's do 15. Let's make the inner. So the inner radius has to be. I already forget what my rod was. Let's hide that. Okay. So let's make the inner radius just 10, and there's our wrist pin there, and let's try to center it using the transform. And I'm just doing approximates here. I'm not trying to get it perfect for this. So now we have the bottom part of our connecting rod there. I'm going to add this top half, and then we'll fumble through this prism or wedge, sorry. And that wedge gives me nightmares trying to remember, and hopefully you'll see why. So now in this case, I've started doing my fillets before I do multiple operations, because I've noticed it seems like they're breaking less. So we're just going to do a 1 millimeter radius fillet there. And now let's add a, so this I'm not going to use a tube, so we're going to add the top half of the connecting rod. And let's transform this. And then we're going to try to do an attachment, but I will probably fail. Or maybe not, I don't know. So we're going to make the radius of this 45. And just basically a random values here. And then we're going to add a second cylinder. Oh, before we do the second cylinder, we're only going to do half of this at a time. And this is something you may not have noticed with cylinder, is you can define, how far around the circle it goes. So we'll go 180 degrees, and then we're going to transform this. We're going to rotate it at 180 degrees. Now, if you don't want to use the rotate tool, you could also just do the placement. You could go into the placement. Boy, that little circle lags my cursor. It's really annoying. You could just go into placement, and you can rotate it here. It'll apply it to whatever axis. This gets really confusing though, because it's that quaternion stuff. That's why I tend to use the transform. So in my case, I think what I must have done is I must have rotated it in 2 directions. Let's go from the side. Nope. So I don't even know why it has, not even sure why it has both of those. That's okay. So now let's do our second cylinder. So I'll create a cylinder, and we'll do the same thing. And we'll transform it 180 degrees. Actually, no, I want to show you. Let's do, oh, that's okay. Yeah, let's get rid of that transform. Let's try mapping it. So I'm selecting the map mode property right here, and I'm going to do click the ellipsis, and that gives me this the attachment dialog. And what I'm going to select is I'm going to try to select the edge here, and you'll see right away it's centered on the what would be the cylinder of this piece. And because I picked the edge, FreeCAD is smart enough to know that I want a concentric alignment. So that makes it a little bit easier to set up a cylinder in the part design workbench. And then the last thing I'm going to do, let me go back into that map mode, and I'm going to reverse it so it faces the other way. So we're going to do map reverse, and now it's pointing the other way. So then that leaves us only to do, the only thing left to do is set a radius. And then, so for those of us who have just joined more recently, this is FreeCAD part workbench. So we're doing this cylinder, or this this piston setup, and I'm obsessed with pistons for some reason. I'm sorry. We're doing it in part workbench only. So we'll continue on. So I'm going to do, and we'll just use the cut tool. So you could use either this cut tool or this cut tool. So I'm not sure what the difference is. Maybe it's just presentation. So that's going to be the bottom half of our piston rod, and let's see if I can get that to transform too. So that, just so you know, the menu selection that I make, that's way too big for a connecting rod, I think. Sorry. The menu selection that I make, oh, I'm going to have to turn off the keyboard thing. That mouse thing is so laggy. This is case sensitive, so sometimes you won't have that transform, and these will all change depending on the workbench you're in. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so now let's add, I think, yeah, let's try to add the actual connecting rod. And I made life difficult for myself. I used a wedge here, so we're going to try to do that again. So it's a wedge. Nope, not going to show you there. Too confusing. And I think maybe if I get any feedback, maybe I'll change some of my font sizes and whatnot, so this is a little bit more legible. All right, so let's add a wedge. So a wedge is in the custom shapes. I think that's this one here. So this is if you're a beginner, I wouldn't get into these yet because, like I said, they make my head hurt. So this is what the wedge looks like when you start. And let me see if I can turn this mouse crap off. Sorry. And settings. Let's. Nope, not obvious. Sorry. All right, so let's just do some things here. So if the three mins are from this point, I think I could say. So if you change them, you'll see I'm moving out on the x-axis, like there. So let me put that back. If I change the y, I'm moving out on the y-axis right here. So they're all from from 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to keep that one. And then the z is the same thing. So it's moving the 0, 0, 0 point. So now it's 0, 0, 1. So if you can think of this as one vertex, and it's the first vertex, which is here. So this second one is, let's see if I can get it, is this vertex here. So I think you can see why it's, so you can see. So what I want to do is I want it to go wide to the top. So I'm going to change that vertex. And then for the Z, I want the whole thing to be flat. Let's see if I got that. Nope, it went too far. So this should be 0. And then I'm going to have to change the other Z. So then the third vertex is just is here. Let me see if I can. Like, this is the first time I've actually gotten it to work, and I'm losing people on this thing. So you can see how this X max. You know what? I gotta be honest with you. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do a full tutorial on this wedge, and what we're gonna do is find the wedge here, because man, it's a nightmare. And it's I think it works well. I just think the whole idea of it's just so difficult to understand. So let's just paste in a wedge, and that's something right there. You just learn that you can copy from one document to another. And I copied it without the fillets and whatnot. So there's that. Let's transform that over. And let's transform this whole thing over. So you'll notice that, actually let me do one last thing. All right, so the final things on this are creating another half, and then doing some of the same operations we did for the piston itself. So what I did was for these right here, I did a tube, and then I subtracted some of the tube from this upper clamp here. So you can see here that let's see if I can show you a little bit. You can see that it actually goes all the way through. Now, you don't really need to go through if you're just doing a model, but if you're going to do it for design spec, you'll need to, and then you'll need to actually do measurements on those holes and whatnot. So I think we're going to I don't want to go too long, and like I said, this was just a test. I don't want to bore anybody that's connected. So what we'll do is we'll end it here, and I just want to thank y'all for joining today. And have a nice day, and make sure one of the things I want to remind everybody that's connected is make sure you hit up the Patreon pages of the developers. So they add a lot of great stuff to this, and I love exploring their features and trying to share them and help understand them. And I'll see you guys in the next live cast, and I'll probably, if it works out, we'll do it on a scheduled basis, and I'll add. Thank you, Richard. I'll see you all next time. Thank you all for joining. And I'm going to try to figure out how to add a zoom to it so you can show me what your problem is, and hopefully we can help. So have a great day.